Crank her up. Let's go.
Cranking up, sir. We've got the lave drive engaged. Looks like we're at lave speed. So, all right. It's the Jimmy Doane Show. I know who the Scottish guy is here, but hey. Hey everybody. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. We do this live twice a week right here on this Facebook channel at 4 o'clock New York time, Sunday and Wednesday. You can leave us a little message here and I'll try to check back. You'll see me look over to my left. And that means I'm checking for your messages, your questions, your comments, and maybe I'll throw them in, sprinkle them into the debate here, which is, as I've mentioned, live.
Live. That's right.
So also, I'll post a timestamp copy of the show up on YouTube, Twitter, Parler, and Gab. And last week I was like, and as you can see, I'll post the audio podcast on and I just said on places you can see, which of course the audio people can't see.
Nothing.
So
That's right.
good for me. Anyway, Libsyn, Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, SoundCloud. Those are just a few of the places you can find us. Today is the 7th day of September 2020.
Not September.
I mean, an alert listener, Jimmy.
That's it. Jimmy.
Not quite dead yet.
No, not dead yet. That's right. That's no net. No filters. No editors.
That's
Except
right.
I had to edit that out.
There you go. We'll
That's
edit
right.
that out in post.
October
That's right.
7th.
October, and we are in the Clearwater Studios here.
That's right.
So what is happening?
Well, one thing, we're in Clearwater Studios, but just a couple of little notes before we get started on the COVID business and so forth, is the Hurricane Delta.
Oh yes.
Apparently it's going to slam
Run
into the
for your
Yucatan.
lives.
Yeah, run for your lives.
Oh, it's already hit.
Has it just hit the Yucatan?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's supposed to swing on up to hit this evening or tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow it's supposed to hit Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, Friday evening or something.
Okay, Friday evening.
Yeah.
Okay, today's Wednesday. But, God, has those guys been slammed or what? I mean, I would think real estate prices would be tanking at this point. I mean,
Karma.
Yeah, just karma, that's right.
No,
So anyway, and of course Cancun is a big, resort area, and I don't know how many people are down there now this October, but...
And our poor little Cozumel. Well, it only hit that area with about a Cat 2.
Okay, so only... Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a direct hit, so it's...
I mean, well, it hits with Cat 2. Think about it. These are Casas Mexicano. And
Well, I mean, no, look, some of them, as you recall, from the resort, they were built to...
oh, no, there's no question. The resort was fine.
Yeah.
That's right. But how many people were at the resort? I mean...
Dozens.
That's right. Tens and tens of them. So anyway. Okay, the other thing I've got is that Derek Chauvin has been freed
Oh, yeah?
after posting $1 million in
Wow.
bail. Yes. This is the guy who had...
Yeah, this is the neck...
This is the guy who had the neck on Floyd.
right.
And, but he's been in jail. Well, of course, immediately the question is,
Was it a GoFundMe or what?
no, they don't know. Nobody knows yet.
Pension? He just took it out of his wallet? What?
I don't know. Nobody has. They're trying to find out who posted the
I had a
money.
little extra cocaine that
Something, maybe. I don't know. It's a neck guy. But I mean,
I got it from my bouncing job.
that's it. That's right. It was big money. Of course, the people are asking where the $1 million because seems like a little pricey for a guy who's a police.
Well, okay, so when you do the analysis on him, or when I do the analysis on him, I think to myself, what are the odds this guy is going to commit another crime? And I think exceptionally low. I mean, it was all circumstantial, the way that this happened.
Well, somebody that's going to post $1 million thinks he's going to get off too, I guess.
Oh,
Didn't we discuss that before? That he's going to be absolved of the murder?
yeah, but why is the person who's bailing him out necessarily going to think that?
Okay, go ahead. Why would somebody do it? Post the $1 million. Now, the one thing is, the $1 million apparently has been posted. That is to say, it's not a bail bondsman.
Oh, okay.
So, well, think about it. If $1 million was posted by the bail bondsman, he gets to keep $100 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his fee.
Yeah.
So somebody who's putting the money up, I would think you wouldn't want to lose the $100 grand.
Well, if you do this is rich people stuff, or like I said, this is a GoFundMe thing.
Okay.
Like it's probably more likely rich people thing.
Okay.
They've got a bunch of contributors who are like, oh, we're going to support this people. You know, like Kyle Rittenhouse probably has the same thing on his side.
Okay.
Anytime somebody gets in trouble these days in some sort of public way, there's usually legal protection, GoFundMes, that kind of stuff.
Well, certainly if there'd been a GoFundMe, it would have popped up. You'd have seen it.
I don't know that.
You can go look on the GoFundMe page.
Yeah,
I
but
think
who does that? I mean,
anybody. The people that were asking the question about where'd the money come from.
oh,
I'm not alone in this.
right. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that would have been an obvious place for them to check. Who knows if they did their due diligence, though?
I just thought it was interesting that somebody came up with $1 million for this guy.
Yeah.
And there's other people. I'm going to think about.
Well,
all,
and see, they don't necessarily have to get off to get the $1 million back. They just have to show up to court. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just a guarantee that they'll appear.
Right. Well, and of course the thing is, when is the trial?
Next year sometime.
Well, you lose all that opportunity cost on the $1 million.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, and you got it. Look, if you're putting a bond for somebody, you're bye bye. I mean,
Well, it says posting $1 million bail.
Right.
What's the difference between bail and bond again?
from my perspective, nothing from your perspective. Nothing.
Okay, nothing.
That's right.
This is not the money. Okay, that's fine.
right.
All right. I just was curious. I was curious to know about that. I thought it was a kind of an interesting thing. COVID-19 is making a dangerous comeback in most parts of the United States. Now, you're going to see the tone of this story. I think it was from probably the Associated Press. Something that's kind of interesting. COVID-19 is spreading again across most of the U.S., hammering rural America and smaller cities and raising anxiety in New York as experts warn that school reopenings and colder weather may cause the situation to rapidly deteriorate. In 34 states, the 7-day average of new cases is higher now than it was a month ago. Although the virus has waned in populous states, including California and Florida, hooray, it is wreaking unprecedented havoc in the Midwest and making incipient return to parts of the Northeast. Now, meanwhile, most attention has, this is one paragraph, most attention has turned to President Donald Trump, who returned to the White House on Monday evening after being treated at Walter Reed for the disease that has killed 210,000 Americans so far. Same paragraph. So we want to make sure that the Trumpster got back, but in the same paragraph mentioned the 210,000 deaths.
Well, you're assuming that this writer knows anything about grammar structure as well. I mean, this is we're in the post-grammar era.
That may be. We're in very bad shape, says the writer, never having achieved any sense of containment, never gotten below 20,000 new confirmed cases per day, said, and here's the guy, Eric Topol, whoever the hell that is, director at the Scripps Research Translational Institute.
There it is. Tells you exactly who he is.
Yeah, exactly. What is, things can only get worse on this course, he says.
Only get worse.
Only get worse. We're doomed.
Doomed.
So I thought it was interesting to see the way this was written. Dangerous comeback, and of course, are there going to be... I did read another article about New York, apparently. There's been a big spike in New York, and people are saying, should we retighten the screws?
Well, they're pretty tight there right now.
In the city. But I'm talking about the rest of the place. It hasn't been...
Oh, yeah. We checked. We will check in with our numbers here. Our little COVID numbers here. Wait, this is not the image I want right now. Okay, so going back to August 30th, well, or more importantly, just look at the last few, these are 2-day stretches, the last few days, and New York is right here at the top. Now, these are deaths, not obviously cases, but in 2 days there have been 14 deaths, so 7 per day.
Okay.
Not a huge number.
Not
but
a huge number, not for New York, right?
Right. Now, I mean, of course, the deaths lag a couple of weeks. We talked about the little fluctuation here. You can see it. There's a little bit of a fluctuation here, but still, the places that got hit the hardest, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, seem to be doing pretty well. Florida, California, and Texas still losing somewhere between 50 and 100 a day.
Well, we're pretty much open here in Florida, so.
Yeah, well, we're wide open here at this point.
Except for the locals. The locals
Yes.
are still panicky.
Well, yeah, and that is interesting, of course, because you've got this defiance by the locals. Apparently, I mean, they think that they can just blow off the governor's order.
Well, they can because they got guns and they got enforcers. It's interesting to see if the enforcers will what they do. I mean,
Well, right. I mean,
they're standing outside of Publix.
the governor is not here.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So now, interestingly, the governor in Michigan is also fighting her.
Yes, I know
courts.
she is. Well, she's a tyrant. I mean, everything she's done, she really thinks she's in control of everything.
Right. Well, this goes back to both of these groups have one thing in common, and that is they're missing there's really a distinction you can make here. There are things that are great ideas that make terrible laws.
Ah, okay.
Lots of things that are great ideas to do that just make horrible laws. And it's stuff like exercise,
Yeah.
right? It's a great idea to exercise, scientifically proven. I mean, it's going to help.
Right.
And the United States probably has an interest
Good
in
food.
That's it. Well, they already control a bit of the food. I mean, you can't drink raw milk. You think you can just drink milk?
Yeah, right. You can't drink raw milk. Boy,
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like that. They did eggs at one point for a little while in New York City.
Did they?
Yeah.
What'd they do?
They outlawed eggs.
No.
Yeah, sunny side up eggs for like 2 weeks. It lasted.
You mean in the restaurants?
Yes.
So, in other words, if you went to get breakfast, you couldn't
Yes.
have your eggs.
Exactly. Because of the potential.
When was this?
This was like 15 years ago.
Okay.
And like I said, it lasted about 2 weeks before everybody was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Well, when you think about it, there's not a what do you call it? One of those shows where they have healthy foods and the guy's got the blender and they put all this stuff and they break in a couple of eggs.
Yeah, sure, no
I mean,
problem.
raw eggs.
Yeah. I eat like at least 2 a day like that.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
And have for like 20 years.
Jesus, and well, then no wonder.
Yeah, that's what's wrong. Nothing wrong with me. So, so anyway, the point is there are these laws. I mean, there are so many you could go through. Own a dog would be another one. You should own a dog. But
Yeah.
there should not be a law that makes you own a dog. And go to church, and the list just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And what we figured out, you have to trust your fellow Americans. You can't have, everybody has this concept of the sort of idiot, asshole, reckless person as, it's not me that's gonna abuse the mask thing, and it's
Yeah.
not you,
Right.
and it's nobody we know. But it's this hypothetical asshole person
Yeah.
who doesn't mind sneezing and coughing.
And of course, what happens is there's millions of them out there.
Oh, right. Yeah, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere,
And
right.
they're the other side. They're the R, or if you're the D, they're the R's. If you're the R, they're the D's. you
Right,
know.
right.
But I mean, in this case, it's interesting. Somebody pointed out in Israel, the anti-mask crowd is the left wing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, well, because Netanyahu's in power.
Okay.
So
Okay. Right.
It's the anti-power people, basically. But, well, anyway, so the big news of the day on COVID, though, of course, or the last few days, is Trump.
Right.
So what do you think?
He's going to have the debates next week, right? Another second debate.
Yeah.
He's going.
So
I'm
you
in.
taking everything that's been in the news the last few days at face value?
Of course.
Of course.
What do you mean? It's in the news. I mean, look, it's there in electrons
So
on
let's
my
just
screen.
go through them one at a time, just to be clear. So Trump got COVID, obviously,
Yep.
right? And then he went to Walter
Yay.
Reed for a few. What?
Yay, got COVID.
What is that? What do you mean?
I was after it and I got it. Whatever.
Oh, right.
Okay.
He won COVID.
He won.
So and then he went to Walter Reed, and fortunately he has the best immune system or something.
Letter to the editor today in the Gainesville Sun said, well, the day will come when we all have that kind of health care. and should.
Everybody has been talking about that recently. I mean, Ilhan Omar tweeted out, it's just my simple wish that everybody have the same health care as the President of the United
You
States.
got to ask her, what kind of health care does she have?
Well, according to her, I mean, she probably thinks she has the same thing as the President of the United States. Right. But it's just, the concept is, the tweets the comments were like, well, what about car? Can I get the same car as the President?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see those, right. How about the airplane?
Right.
If
Can I get the same weapons as the President?
Yeah.
So, apparently not. Apparently there's some distinction after you get past healthcare.
I guess there is.
So, okay, he got it. He got better. That was pretty quick, huh?
Yep.
I mean, and are you buying he's all better? Or?
Yes.
Really?
Yep, I am. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Literally, as God is my witness, after I left the show on Sunday here, I got sick.
Right.
I had problems breathing. I thought I'd gotten COVID. And I was coughing. I was draining and everything like that. And I couldn't.
Coming, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was right. I thought I was. Monday morning, I called the doctor. And he said, no. What he said was, take this pill, Covacine, whatever the hell it was, or something. And also he said,
lime, a coconut, some rum.
Just about. There is I forget I can't remember the name of it, but it's apparently it's milk from a cow that has just given birth.
Right, that's right.
Hey.
A goat who has just had sex with a virgin.
Well, what I'm saying, apparently this is a fairly normal thing, whatever this is. And and he sells it.
Right, yeah. I got some right here.
And I had Ms. Jimmy go by the doctors and pick up the pills.
That's right.
And literally 24 hours later, I was cured. Totally 100% cured. Nothing was wrong. No drips, no nothing.
Well, but you don't know if you had it or not. I mean, you don't.
Oh, no. I didn't have COVID. I didn't have that. I simply had a sinus problem.
So what's your point then? Because
I thought I did. And what I had normally is something that I've had in the past, and it's lasted for days. And I don't doubt for a second that they gave him all this stuff that they shot him up with fixed him.
So are you suggesting that maybe the floodgates are open on the access to the experimental drugs now or something?
Yeah. I'll go with that.
I mean, because some guy in a urban pharmacy cured you with some concoction.
You see the connection?
Right.
Do you see the connection?
No. Okay.
I don't know why did I tell you that. I'm sorry. That was too. I just thought it was amazing that for as bad as I felt and was worried about, because I'm one of those that's at risk.
Right.
And boy, I'll tell you, 24 hours later.
You're good.
Blown away.
Right.
Okay, enough of that. Okay, no. Well, take nothing from that. But I believe that they fixed him up, and he's got doctors all sitting around. He's all ready to go back next week for another, which is going to be kind of interesting to go back for another shot at the meeting with Biden. Yeah.
The debate. Well, okay. So, I mean, to me, there's still a couple issues on the table. I mean, does Melania still have it?
Don't know.
I mean, she's still sitting around in the White House. I mean, is she? And what about the other? I presume they can keep the other folks away from him, but. It just seems like an awfully quick recovery to me. I'm not convinced that he's totally out of the woods yet. Boris Johnson, I did go back and check the Boris Johnson timeline.
Okay.
Because obviously Boris Johnson is sort of the Trump clone that they experiment on.
Right.
And so when they gave it to him, I mean, when he got it, it was like 6 days or so before he was really in the hospital.
Well,
so now it's been 8-9 days since.
And look, in the White House is pretty much like being in the hospital.
Yeah, I would imagine. Shoot, and probably being in his damn limousine is like being in the hospital.
Right.
But
you saw where the huge complaints.
Yeah.
Were that
he did the drive-by.
Drive-by. No. The
Oh,
windows
no.
weren't down, but the Secret Service was in
Right,
the same
yeah.
car. You don't have respect for your own Secret Service.
Right, you're putting them in. Yeah, to me that that was silly. I mean, of course they're there to die so that he.
They're supposed to they're supposed to shield him from the bullet.
Right. But Joy Reid had a great quote. Hers was like, "Well, they're supposed to take a bullet for the president, not from the president."
Ah, yes, of course, that's right. Yes, I saw that.
That's right.
Ha ha.
Bill, thanks for guarding me.
Yeah, right.
Achoo. Well, all right. Well, so I'm going to go ahead and say that because of the COVID diagnosis and all this stuff, that the election has officially started. That's what I'm saying. Normally, it wouldn't start till really next week.
Okay.
Right. I mean, the real election, 2 weeks out. But this, to me, the COVID thing's a big deal, and the recovery is a big deal. If he does fully recover and doesn't relapse, and Melania doesn't give it back to him or whatever, and he's immune, or yeah, exactly, and he can sell Trump tiger blood or something online.
There you go.
Then
Get his plasma into the system.
No question.
Yeah.
So if that happens and he goes back out and resumes everything, then yeah, I think he's in good shape. But just interesting dynamics. Just out of curiosity, do you know who Jo Jorgensen is? You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the Libertarian presidential
Right.
candidate. Right.
Right.
She was on the ballot, one of 7 or 8 on our ballot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, 7 or 8?
yeah, there were 7 or 8 people running for president on our
Really?
that have, in fact, got licensed to be on the ballot in Florida. Yeah, I don't have the ballot with me, but there's and they're from everywhere. So I've never heard of most of them, but Joe, I knew about her.
Do you think we're going to get the October surprise, or do you think that was it?
We're in October. I don't know. It's hard to think what it'd have to be a pretty big surprise.
I thought that was probably it. I get COVID, and then now I'm cured.
I mean, ooh, conspiracy there, huh?
Well, I mean, no, I don't. I mean, I do not think that it was faked, because there's no way. Look, humans suck at secrets. And there's no way you get all those doctors and everybody to participate in all that shit. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, you think about the Kennedy shooting, the Twin Towers, all those things.
Yeah, and that's how you know that almost all those things were not conspiracy theories, because somebody.
Total? Are you kidding?
No,
I read this stuff.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! How can you? How can you say that? I mean, Kennedy was shot by the CIA. We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Kenroy. So, what was the other thing you were going to say?
Okay, well, I was just.
Did you have another little quick COVID thing?
Well, I was just thinking of the election, or if there's anything else on those things. But no, I'm good. Well, go ahead.
Okay. The next thing I've got is totally off, completely out of another thing entirely.
Right.
The Pope says the free market trickle-down policies fail society.
Really?
Here's the Pope. Here's the Pope, okay? He's, what are there, 2-3 billion Catholics or something, and he has issued an encyclical. Mm-hmm. Pope Francis said on Sunday that the COVID-19 pandemic was the latest crisis to prove that market forces alone and trickle-down, quote-unquote, economic policies have failed to produce the social benefits their proponents claim.
Really?
In an encyclical, which is the most authoritative form of papal writing, but not infallible, on the theme of human fraternity, Francis said that private property cannot be considered an absolute right in all cases where some have lived extravagantly while others have nothing. Francis repeated past calls for redistribution of wealth to help the poorest and for the fairer access to natural resources by all. The right, quote, the right to private property can only be considered a secondary natural right derived, and this is something that from the principle of universal destination of created goods. What? Without...
There's a destination to be in my hands.
Well, this is the thing. I'm thinking this is coming from the Pope, okay? I mean, of all the things. Without naming countries or people, Francis condemned politicians who, quote, seek popularity by appealing to the basest and most selfish inclinations. Now, what's funny about this is, so what else is new? Of course, that's what they do. They do that all the time. They are going to give everything to everybody, and of course
except the church's stuff.
Except the Pope, right?
Right.
Well, it's funny because what he's appealing to here what he's saying here is that rich people should give their money, and I think that rich people should give their money to poor people.
Right.
And that he's appealing to the poor people. It's his basis. And that's, of course, every time you put money in the little basket in the Catholic Church in Nicaragua, some of that goes to Papal City.
Right.
So, I mean, what's fascinating about this?
Gild the walls.
Oh my God!
So, well, look, it's a nice sentiment, but I've got a chart up here of the share of the world's population living in poverty from 1981 to 2018. I mean, in this brief period of time, 1.25 billion people were dragged out of extreme poverty.
Yeah.
And that's what capitalism does.
The free market. Well, what is interesting, I always like to see, what I think is fascinating, they take the camera through some out of the wall, some, I don't call it destitute, but a little town in Nicaragua, or not Nicaragua, but in Africa. They drive through dirt, you see the dirt roads and the ponies and the carts and everything. They got stores, Coca-Cola sign, and the kids are wearing shirts that say, Pirates.
Astros.
Astros. Yeah. I mean, God, they got clothes on that are obviously from I don't know where. Well, they might have been donated, because when you think about all the clothes that get dumped over here at the
well, these days they're getting more and more. But so what about that? When what about the Africa kids?
What tells me is that these people are obviously not that poor. They're clothed and everything, and I mean, this is not destitute poverty. Here's the deal: destitute is when you see the little baby with a distended stomach,
right,
or something like that. But they're walking around, they're selling stuff. They got a little store there and everything.
Well, there's different levels.
I know that. I tell you, I went down when I was down a month in Honduras,
Guatemala,
and Guatemala, right? Guatemala. Boy, I tell you, you walk out of the major thing, and it was talking about fourth world.
Yeah, well, and so I mean, the two big things that still can affect billions of people are the promulgation of electricity and running water.
Right.
I mean, there's more than 1 billion people that don't have adequate commodes, basically, and a huge amount of disease is transferred in that way. I mean, there's a great effort by Jason Bourne, Matt Damon, basically, to go around and get those things distributed. That's the kind of stuff, those are the kind of efforts that I was afraid were going to get shut down during the lockdown. Because they really do save the poorest of people. The smallest changes, just giving them water filtration equipment, stuff like that, makes huge life-changing differences.
Well, there's with another little minor problem, of course. You look at something like the Ganges, which services billion people, or billion, hundreds of thousands, whatever, millions of people in India, but it's all polluted. And I mean, they bathe in this thing, and I saw pictures. How can you not get sick from something like this? But on the other side, when I was in Rotary, for instance, when we would watch different Rotary clubs that would go to Haiti or some of these other places, plant trees or dig wells and have a very efficient way to get clean water for a change. And it was interesting to see that you could go to a village with maybe a couple of hundred people, and for the first time ever, you've got this well there that's been donated basically by the Rotary Club of whatever it is, and they've got, for the first time, they've got clean water. It's yes, it's central, but
so I mean, that's where the fight against poverty is these days.
It is, and that's true.
It's not in the United States or anything. I mean, we've got the homeless group out there, but I think that's a different issue for the most
totally
part.
totally different. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting to go back to the Pope, that he's calling for the redistribution of wealth. And I'm thinking, he's one of the richest guys on the. I hate to think what the Pope's worth, but it's a bunch.
Yeah.
So go ahead, go into the Pope Museum there and see if you can raffle off some of that stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, the concept the concept the Pope should be operating under is, well, you give me the money and then I'll give it out to those poor people, or what. I mean, that's basically what you hope happens with the Pope.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, another couple of hundred Mother Teresa's, who knows. Can California go all electric in 15 years?
Aha.
The state is hoping, and of course I've always said that hope is not a business plan.
What? You've never said that. I've never heard you
said
say
that a bunch
before.
of times. Hope
What?
is not a business plan. You expect
Never-
something. Okay.
no,
It's
no.
hoping to phase out sales of gas-powered vehicles by 2035. That is 15 years from now. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, but that it says it poses a major challenge to already overtaxed power grid. Now, what's interesting about this is right now they're having rolling blackouts all over the place in Northern California because the grid can't handle it. Now, what's going to happen when everybody goes home at night and plugs in their car?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy?
Yeah. Well, we just turn it to 11.
Okay, right. We'll turn it to 11. The state has recently struggled with rolling blackouts due to tight power supplies. Going all electric in 15 years will dramatically increase electricity demand. Now, the question, of course, immediately poses, where are you getting this electricity from?
Yeah. Well, look, as we
A
talked about.
coal-fired power plant?
What? No. Look, by the new super efficient solar cells that we envision.
And of course they're so efficient that even with moonlight, they generate electricity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All you do is you need one on your car, and then it just powers your car.
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You got enough.
So this, of course, it's here's something that's interesting, called the Great Law of Unintended Consequences. I love this. Mr. Newsom's order applies to sales of new vehicles. So older gas-powered cars will be on the road, California, for many years to come. Now, what do you think that's going to do to the used car market?
Woohoo!
I'll tell you right now, it's going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
I mean, I was seeing that just even recently, there's been a spike in used car prices. I think they're trying to track it back to the COVID thing because people haven't been buying new cars or something. You know, it's hard to go into a new car place anymore.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so they're saying that the used car prices have recently spiked, up 7 or 8%, something like that nationwide. But I thought it's interesting that first of all, the only saving grace is, I suppose, that if you want to buy a new car, you go to Nevada and get yourself a car that that's a fuel guzzler or whatever it is.
Why Nevada?
Because they're not going to go all electric in 15 years.
Oh, yeah, right outside of California.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, you go across the border and buy your car. Now, of course, they'll have who knows what kind of rules they're going to have to try, because they're going to come in. What I like about this is it's too early to tell what kind of impact the order will have on our grid. We don't have any specific analysis or projections.
We know it'll be good.
Yeah, we don't have any specific analysis or projections, says Ann Gonzalez, a spokeswoman for the California Independent System Operator.
Well, look, as we talked about before a couple of times, this is just aspirational. Anytime you're talking about something out that 20.
That's why it's hope instead of expect.
Yeah, well, and so this is just a.
There will need to be rules and rates that encourage people to change their cars, charge their cars. Excuse me. At a certain
Fines and
time.
imprisonment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To encourage.
There said Mr. Nelder, whatever, believes the investment, he calls it, will be worth it, because internal combustion engines generate so much waste heat and emissions.
It'll pay for itself.
Pardon me?
It'll pay for itself.
Pay for itself, that's right. And of course, the upgrading of the electrical system could result in lower bills for customers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could. We had that here, of course, when they did our ill-fated biomass plant, which sits idle out here for $750 million that we have to pay for, and it's not doing anything. It's fascinating that the government people, but I think that right away they've admitted, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have any
look, that's a nothing burger. That the California order. I mean, it doesn't have any effect for.
Well, he's not going to be in office, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And by then, the other governors everything will be different.
Yeah.
I mean, the earthquake will have hit by then. Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe if they can.
Elon will have his tunnels built.
That's right.
I mean, there'll be
the thing about
rocket travel between cities.
That's right. Well, the other little minor problem is if you got this tunnel built in California and California slides off into the Pacific
And
Ocean.
the tunnel just stays right there.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm taking my tunnel with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. See, but as you say, the things that are in California is so unstable right now, it seems to me, not only from the earthquakes and everything, but I mean, all you have to do is look. One missile has to hit that spot on the.
I don't know if it will be that easy.
San Andreas.
That sounds
Well,
like
according to
a
Superman.
plot to a Superman movie. Yeah.
According to
Yeah.
who was the villain there?
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah, no. If you wanted to do the supervillain thing, what you'd do is you'd go up to Oregon and you'd bring that nuke down to the seafloor and light it off in the Cascadian subduction zone.
Yes, there you go.
Trigger the tsunami.
Okay.
Yeah, but you didn't
Hey.
hear that here.
No, not here. We're
That's just a
That's right. No
science
idea.
fiction
Science fiction, right?
TV show I'm writing.
Next item I've got here is Silicon Valley opens its wallet for Joe Biden. They've talked about that Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft and Oracle have contributed nearly 20 times as much money to the Biden as Trump, which is interesting, according to the federal election.
20 times.
20 times more, yeah. It's $4.5 million. No, it's $4.5 million to Biden and just $239,000 to Trump. What's interesting about
That's
this,
the
of
chump
course,
change, though. I
the
mean,
chump change. That's right.
the
It's chump change.
advertisements and
Yeah,
stuff.
no, it's nothing. But it's interesting. Now, this only includes contributions of $200 or more, apparently.
Yeah, that's like individual contributions
Individual,
from
right.
the company itself
Right.
or something.
Yeah, not from the company, from the people, right?
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was interesting because that why are they thinking about Biden instead of Trump? You know, the people in Silicon Valley. I guess they're worried about There's been a report, of course, from the Congress today that big tech yields monopoly power, and they're having hearings on it.
Yeah.
I mean, the House or whatever it is has put this report that says we want to break them up.
Yeah. I think that the tech people probably, I mean, for one, as you know, I mean, if you don't think about where the money comes from, then a lot of the Democratic programs sound awesome, and you can get behind all that stuff. And so, you know, if you're just a young guy working at the tech office, nothing wrong with that.
Well, this article, let me just tell you, it says that the report says the dominance of these big ones, it stamps out competition and stifles innovation, which I don't believe for a second. I mean,
Well, we know that's not true because I mean, they'll see something like Facebook will acquire Oculus or
Right.
something, and they'll say, "Well, look, they stamped them out." Well,
Right.
no, they didn't. Oculus won. Oculus did exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They got to that point. They sold out. They all got rich. I mean, it was a fantastic success.
Yeah.
And yes, now Facebook controls that technology, and it'll be maybe that much harder for the next competitor to come by, but they will. They'll come by and they'll chip out a piece of it, and it's just too easy.
Yeah.
And
when you look and see what all the things that they bought over the years, it's phenomenal. And of course, I'm looking
they
at
themselves have only been around for a decade and a half.
right.
And so if a decade and a half ago you were to look at whoever it is that, if you were to say, well, nobody's going to replace the New York Times or the Washington Post or something. Well, yeah, in 15 years it'll all be gone. Just
Well,
like,
nobody's. I look here at my local newspaper, which now is not even as big as the Inquirer. I mean, it's this little thin
It's a
thing,
little- yeah.
and it's from what it was years ago. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Let's see. So the Republicans issued a separate response to the Democrat things here. They endorse strong antitrust enforcement targeting the companies, but don't endorse many of the Democrats' policy prescriptions. It also accused the companies of bias. That's the main thing. Republicans are all worried about the bias against conservative viewpoints.
Right.
And we've seen some of that. People are accusing them of, shutting down certain blogs and
Right. Well, there's some fight over the outlets, but look, you can get all the information that you want, and I mean, there's so many more outlets these days.
Well, this is one of the things I thought, quote, these firms have too much power and that power must be reined in and subject to appropriate oversight and enforcement, said the 449-page report. Our economy and democracy are at stake. Now, newsflash. Who's do the reining in? If you're so powerful, you obviously have somebody that's more powerful to do the reining in. So the government is going to tell us what's best for Facebook.
Yeah, look, the benevolent kings
have
got this one, man. You
Well,
can't let the...
It's interesting. The report outlines a series of responses Congress could adopt, including legislation forcing at least some of the companies to separate certain dominant online platforms from other business lines, as well as changes to antitrust laws to reinvigorate a perceived lack of strong enforcement. I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, here you talk about the giant in the room. I mean, okay, they're big. They're big. They're like I don't know. They're like an SUV, the companies. But now you're coming in with an 18-wheeler to tell them what to do. I mean, this is the government is
it's a battleground.
and they've got guns.
Right. Well, look, it's a battleground, and they're allowed, or they're going to fight there.
Well,
just like they've been fighting over the news for a while. Now that's
Yeah.
the new battleground, and if they can take control for a brief period, there's a lot of people who think that whatever gets printed, people will just follow.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? That's amazing. You talk about
Again, this is the idiot asshole.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
this
those
is
people.
Not me,
Not
not
me.
you, nobody I know,
Yeah.
but somebody out there
Yeah.
just reads. They just listen to Trump and they drink bleach.
Well, it is, yeah, and strictly. What is interesting is, again, our local rag here, which has gotten down pretty small. They're liberals. I mean, they're screaming liberals. That's owned by the New York Times or USA Today or something.
So?
But it's interesting is they believe this stuff, and when you read all their stuff, and then you get on Facebook, and a lot of my friends and everybody's saying, who reads that? Why do you still subscribe?
Well,
to
they
that?
produce that stuff, so it follows that they feel as though it's important in the general public.
Yeah.
For them it's important, and for their
Well, they're preaching
constituents
to the
and their-
choir, I guess.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Now we got a little news on ACB.
Oh, okay.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Right.
She lived in home of a secretive Christian group's co-founder.
Aha! Sex deviant.
Yes.
I knew it.
Oh yeah. No. It gets better. Details of link to Kevin Ranahan raise fresh questions about Supreme Court nominees' involvements to the People of Praise.
Uh-huh.
Now, what's interesting is, of course, there were questions all the time about Obama's 17 years or 20 years, whatever, with his group, the crazy Marxist guy. What was this? The church that he used to go.
Oh, right. Uh-huh. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name now. But yeah, I mean, he was talking about indoctrination.
Saul Alinsky was in.
Yes, it might have been. Well, that was that he wrote the book. I don't know if Saul Alinsky was the guy in charge of that particular church, but the Rules for Radicals was what he wrote.
Okay.
But I forget who the guy was and what the name of the church was that Obama went to for years. Now she lived here while she was at law school in Notre Dame. It was like
young and impressionable.
Young, impressionable. Way it gets better. It's like we have down here. We've got a couple of houses here where they have
the Hare Krishnas.
9 or 10. Right, they have 9 or 10 bedrooms, and you live there. So
you can live at the Hares. You can make the food and pass it out.
that's right, and they do that. They bang, bang, bang on the side of things, telling everybody. The revelation offers new clues about the possible influence of the quote. Of capital, People of Praise, P-O-P, People of Praise, and one of its leaders on a woman who may shape the direction of the Supreme Court for the next 40 to 50 years. Barrett has said she is a faithful Catholic, but that her religious beliefs would not bear on the discharge of my duties as a judge. Public records and a record of a speeding ticket show that Barrett's husband Jesse apparently also lived in the home in the years before their 1999 marriage. Public records examined by The Guardian show that where the individuals receive their mail, including bills, it's difficult, based on the records alone, to determine when precisely individuals lived in the residence.
Oh, so they're trying to say she may be a bad Catholic?
Well, this is the thing.
She was living in sin.
Living in sin. You don't know. This was as I said, the whole article was really a hoot.
Well, and so what was she doing with the People of Praise? I mean, was that a sex cult or what?
This is what this raises
They're
fresh.
selling children into slavery? Come on, I mean, where's the dirt?
That's right. Where's the dirt? I thought it was interesting that this was apparently it's a religious organization. It's Catholic or what? Notre Dame. She's in Notre Dame, for God's sake.
Okay, so that's the slavery part.
What do you think? What do you think? Well, and the molestation of children and so forth.
That's
the
right.
other thing. No, I mean it raises fresh questions, and I'm sitting there thinking, is this where you're going?
They got nowhere to go. It had to go there.
I
go there.
Laughing my butt off.
Where else could it go? It has to go there.
She was in law school, and this is where she was living, trying to
right.
save a. As I say, we have the same places here, where you can have a group of people.
In high school, she attended a party. That's what they went with Kavanaugh.
I know.
In high school, you attended a party.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, the state.
I just wonder,
after
it'll
that,
be interesting to see when, what's going to come up with the hearings. But this is, you talk about a stretch. I mean, you're
and
stretching
Susie
more.
and little Jill pushed down Kelly into the puddle.
That's right.
The Girl Scout troop. I mean, come on. It's.
Well, look. There was one of my favorite comic books when I was growing up was one called Plastic Man.
Okay.
And Plastic Man could go into any shape you wanted.
What?
Oh yeah, it was great. But you talk about a stretch. Plastic Man could not have stretched further than this.
That's right. It was. She's an evil soul snatching.
That's right. Well, the big deal is
kid adopting.
You do know what the big deal is this evening.
Yes, the debate.
The debate. The stakes couldn't be much higher for Mike Pence, heading into his first and only face-off with Kamala Harris and Biden Harris, as the Biden-Harris ticket continues to expand their lead in the polls.
Have you heard Mike Pence debate before?
No.
Okay.
After the Trump-Biden dumpster fire, with both candidates and a moderator repeatedly interrupting one another, tonight's debate between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris is far less likely to devolve into cacophony.
Cone of silence.
Instead, it seems more likely that Pence will highlight two extremely unflattering aspects of Kamala Harris: her prickliness and her radicalism. Now, one of the things that's interesting, I thought, about this is they're going to attack, who's qualified to be vice president. Well, Pence is vice president.
Right.
So he's qualified. We know that right off the bat.
Yeah.
But Kamala, we don't know. And as far as Biden is concerned, you've been fixing things for 50 years or 47 years, and
got it done.
Yeah, you got her done. No, I don't think so.
Look,
and Kamala, what's she done except put people in jail a lot?
Which is what prosecutors do.
Right.
Like, normally the vice presidential debate is more of a referendum on the president's. I mean, don't they normally take pot shots at each other's president and then sort of defend those pot shots rather than attack one another? Because like you said, what has the vice president literally ever done? I mean, can anybody remember anything that a vice president has done in their official capacity?
Yes.
Shot Aaron Burr, or was shot?
No, not quite. Almost. Spiro Agnew had to leave the vice presidency because he was a fraudster.
Yeah, the one official act you remember is him leaving his post.
That's it.
Right.
He resigned.
Okay, I can't remember, and all the education, everything that I've read. I mean, it seems like John Adams or one of the early guys did something.
Well, you remember? No, it was for years. Separate parties.
Exactly. And I was just going to say that. And back then, when it made a difference.
Yeah.
And that was a better structure than what we have now, which is your vice president is just sort of this vestigial, worthless toad that just hangs off to the side.
There's fish where the male is absorbed into the female.
Oh God. This is, it is just the simpiest relationship.
Yeah.
It's hideous.
So the question is, who's going to watch it tonight, and what's going to be the takeaway?
Well, the thing is a little different tonight because, as you know, Joe has done very well in all of his appearances since he's come out of the basement, but there is still, I think there's still the lingering question of how long are they going to let Joe keep the reins. Honestly, I don't think that he would finish out an entire term. I don't.
Go Nancy.
I think they have a plan. I've heard Kamala say a few times. Now, of course, they picked these clips out. But,
yeah, I know they have.
But she said our administration a few times and things like that. And so, whatever. We'll see. Anyway, I mean, maybe that's one of the. That's obviously an angle that the Republicans are trying to sell. That it's going to be Kamala, but. To the extent they're able to sell it, that means the debate tonight is consequential.
Okay.
So they could pick at each other, and Kamala is, unfortunately for her, really bad at public speaking.
If she would only laugh.
Right. If she could
That's what we need to do.
laugh at her jokes.
That's it. If she would laugh at her jokes, oh, but that'd be it. Let's just, oh my God, that'd be great.
Look. So Pence, I have not seen him in an actual debate. I've seen him speak a few times. He seems pretty well composed.
Well, he is, and of course, one of the things is, he wasn't he the guy that said, I would never have a meeting with another woman unless I was okay. And the LGBTQ people jumped over him for that, I think.
Well, it was more than that. It's because he's such a Christian-y,
right? Well, it is, and of course you're going to attack him on that. I don't know.
Well, if you're an LGBTQ person, I mean, there's a lot of Bible thumpers out there who are so anti-gay that they're mean about it. And that's just a silly. I mean, it's been pitched, like, you'll go to, I don't know, you'll burn in hell or something.
Well, they used to throw them. They still throw them off the tops of buildings in other countries.
I mean, yeah, and Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's not cool.
Yeah. So the question is, how is Pence going to win the nomination? What's he going to say? The debate.
Well, I think all he has to do is bring up a couple of policy issues and throw.
That's what they had number one here.
Yeah, I think all he's got to do is bring up a couple of things that.
Here's what we've done.
Well, I wouldn't do it on him and what we've done.
Well, the president.
No.
No. You wouldn't.
No. I would go on the offense, and I would say this is what Kamala did.
Oh, okay.
I would say Kamala did this, Kamala did that, Kamala did the other thing, and that's what you'll get if you vote for her.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. They didn't. I don't believe that they said that in this.
Yeah,
and
the reason I would do that is because as a prosecutor, she's always used to having the upper hand. She's always used to going on offense. She's always used to being the accuser.
Right.
And being the accused puts a prosecutor in a very they get rattled quickly because all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's on me. Like, how can this possibly happen? They never imagined that they would ever be the accused. That's how it's so easy for them to accuse other people, because they're easy to convince themselves, I'm the prosecutor, I'm the good guy.
Yeah.
What I say is bad. And then, if somebody accuses them, it's a disconnect with their reality.
Ooh.
So exactly. So what I would do if I was Pence is I would say, you did this, you did that, you put, and I would attack her on the ethical stuff. I would say you fought to keep people in jail, whatever there's like 3 different hits we hear about her. That she went after people for truancy, that she tried to keep people in jail after their sentence, and I mean they're not exactly true. I mean she's just doing the prosecutorial work.
Right.
But you would hit her with those things as if they were true accusations in order to throw her on her back foot. See if you can't get her to just blurt something out, because she is just likely to just go. Nuh-uh, and you boo-boo, and then all of a sudden it's like, did you just really say that?
Yeah.
7-second dump, anything, cut the line, somebody cut the hard wire. There's the guy going for the axe like it's the beginning of the Transformer movie.
Well, we'll see. This will be an interesting, it'll be interesting to see how many people tune in to it. Mm-hmm. How many people really care about the vice presidential debate.
Yeah.
It will be interesting, but in this particular instance, it might be consequential because there are some people that are a little worried about the challenger's mental capacities. Although he seemed to do pretty well in the last debate, so we'll see.
Well, I mean that's their weakness, and now their strength. It's hard to go after Pence. I mean, I guess what you would do is you would just bring up whatever negatives there were. You would say, about the jobs lost now, the current condition of things today, the deaths from COVID, and you just say, this is all on your watch. And however you want to try to frame it, you're the vice president right now, so you get blamed for all the bad stuff, and you just let him stew on that. So, well, we'll see.
Okay, so you don't think that they bring up anything that the Trump administration has accomplished?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, maybe, depending on how she handles it. If she handles all those things really well, then yeah, I would pivot and go to accomplishments and things like that, because that's stuff that they can't. I mean, ostensibly, he can say, look what we did as president. What did Joe do when he was vice president for this thing? And he can even say what it was.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything on X, pipeline or Alaska wildlife or whatever it is that he wants to pitch.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they've done. I haven't heard any news about whether either of them went through a moot.
Oh,
discussion.
They did. Guarantee it. Guarantee. Yeah. Man, they do that for just regular old trials and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
Vice president, man.
Oh, speaking of regular old trials, Boston Legal. I've been binging on bits.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be really good.
I love it. Oh my God, are you kidding?
I've never seen it. But
you're kidding.
No.
I'm thinking about getting the series because it went on for like 6 seasons or so.
Yeah.
That was William Shatner.
Oh yeah.
And
Denny Craig.
Denny Craig. Yeah. What great trial stuff there was in that. I mean, really.
Everything I've heard about it sounds fantastic. But I was in law school.
I'm going to pony up and buy the DVD set, because all they've got on, unfortunately, in YouTube or Netflix or whatever, any of these other places, are just the bits and pieces #1, or it's like $2 for each one of them.
Each episode.
Yeah. So
I don't think they even have all the seasons up. You can only get back to.
Yeah, I don't even know. But I'll tell you, talk about great stuff. That, and of course the other one I love is Ally McBeal, but the one Boston Legal though is really good stuff. So we're going to do that. I'm binging on the bits and pieces of it, just so you'll know. Mm-hmm. I haven't given up on West Wing. Yeah. I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I've got here. The California officials topple a giant Trump sign overlooking the 405 freeway, citing life and safety hazard. Now, I saw a picture of this. It was up on private property.
Oh, yeah.
It was way back.
Yeah.
But it was huge. Yeah. And it was a big sign that
Somebody
just said...
toppled it over.
What happened was, the sign visible near the Sepulveda Pass in Los Angeles, you know where that is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Drivers began their Tuesday commute. First reported 7 a.m. by a driver who was apparently concerned that it could spark a blaze.
Swerved into oncoming traffic.
Well, that's right. Half the state's history of destructive bush fires in the past few years. As such, the California Highway Patrol noted the sign was a traffic hazard as people slowed down to take a picture of it. And by 9 a.m.
they slowed down to
it was reported at 7 a.m. And by 9 a.m. the California Department of Transportation entered and toppled the sign down.
Wow.
So it took them 2 hours to get over there. And so it laid it down so it wasn't a visual distraction. So I thought 2 hours it took them to get this sign.
Wow, that's nothing.
That's nothing. But I thought it was interesting that somebody on their own private property or on private property, and the California Caltrans or whatever had no problem barging. Now we don't know if they got permission or whatever it was, but between 7 and 9, they marched onto the property and.
That's quick.
That's quick. 2 hours.
That's almost too fast to get a judge's order, which is the kind of thing you might need.
You would think, right? Exactly right.
But this is California.
Well, that's right. And what they did is this was a
right, and they invoked, I guarantee you, their emergency
safety,
traffic powers or whatever it is.
Yeah, distraction. It's like.
Right.
When people start to slow down on the 405, excuse me, at rush hour, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I can't tell you. I used to, when I was out there to drive on the 405, and I remember watching. I used to have so much fun because what I would do is to watch where the helicopters were,
right,
and you'd swerve off and take a side street and come back on because that's where the traffic jam was.
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable how bad it can get up there.
Oh my God.
Let's see here. I got a couple of things.
Okay, we're just about out of time, so let's go.
Yep. Let's see. I had a good traffic picture, but I guess I can't find it. So you saw, in terms of law enforcement stuff, the grand jury indicted the McCloskeys of St. Louis.
No.
Yeah. Now, I didn't see what the counts were, how many there were, anything like that. But I remember reading the law very strictly and thinking, well, somebody could see that as a prima facie thing. That is, they point the gun in the people's direction. And does the pointing of the gun at them constitute assault in and of itself?
One little sidetrack I forgot I meant to say. This is nothing. We're going to come right back to that.
Okay.
Come right back. Was the Supreme Court refused to hear the lady who was fired for not issuing a marriage license to a gay couple in Kentucky, and she sued to get her job back.
Right. Yeah.
And the Supreme Court said not on us. So anyway, that was apparently it was remanded to the lower court, so she's not going to get anything. Okay,
There
go
you
ahead.
go. Well, so that one turned out okay. This stuff, I mean, look, as we've talked about before, you can indict a hand sandwich with the jury, and so this is obviously some sort of, this is proof of that. It's interesting. I saw Tucker and Judge Janine talking about it. Tucker's like the Soros-backed prosecutor.
All right, yeah, exactly.
He just comes up with this crazy shit, but they inferred the worst of the crowd,
right?
And
they
look,
did.
Here's the bottom line: is that they'll win the trial, but they'll have to go through that shit, unfortunately. But that's just how easy it is to get somebody indicted. So, also along those same lines, a grand jury just indicted Netflix over the Cuties movie.
Really?
Yes.
No kidding.
In Texas.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, endangerment of children or whatever, and
now what's interesting, and we talked a little bit about this before. The Cuties movie was ostensibly child porn because they were all the little girls. The little girls were kind of cute, and they were like 11 and 12 years old, and they're twerking.
They
and
look that old, but anyway.
Well, no, I think they were certainly sub-teens.
Oh yeah, they looked like 7 or 8 to me.
Okay, anyway, and they were dancing around doing all the twerking and everything, and the camera would linger on certain parts. They were covered parts and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But again, what got me about this, as I talked about it, is don't look at it. Number one, I watched a bit of the thing, and I said, obviously I'm not going to watch this. I mean, I'm a pervert, but I'm not going to watch this.
But even look, here's what it comes down to: is are they using the kids for the purpose of attracting people because of the sexuality of the
prurient
kids?
interest?
Exactly.
And of course, I was looking at it. It's a French movie.
Right.
And those people do this kind of stuff all the time, and it was like in a French possession.
What you're answering,
wasn't even in France.
The answer to your question then there in that regard is yes, but it doesn't matter because they're French.
Right.
And okay, that's perfectly okay.
Eh bien,
except that Netflix is an American company.
Français.
Right. Except that Netflix is an American company, and so they're like, look, if you're going to make money over here off of that shit, show that shit in France if you want. Go ahead.
It is shown in France.
I know, but what I'm saying is don't show it over here in terms of now. And of course, the director said, "Well, look, no, it is not. We are not exploiting the.
No, we are telling how bad it is.
Right?
Yes, this is bad.
Yeah,
sure. Sure.
It didn't look like that exactly.
Well, what's interesting, in a way, as you well know, it's kind of funny. I've got a VPN.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, and you can have it go to different places for your, So sometimes when I go into as the French VPN.
Okay, now this is all part of the screenplay you're writing, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'll go to look for something in the United States, and it says this content cannot be shown.
Right.
In the United States, it'll say this content cannot be shown in the States. Then I'll go to the French VPN and look and find there it is, no problem.
Right.
So it's that's the one good thing about a virtual private network, aka VPN, is you can skip around and
go to freer countries than America.
Well, it's interesting also to see what does come up on your screen when you look at stuff in there, and like you go to a lot of the stuff, and if you go to Tokyo's VPN thing, a lot of the stuff's in Japanese. So
as you would expect.
As you would expect.
So now, what I thought was interesting is who goes to jail or whatever if they convict Netflix.
Yeah, right.
They designated like Charlie. Listen, as part of your contract.
Yeah.
In the small print there.
Okay, look. Here's the sword. Fall on it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. So I mean, there's still stuff going on with there's still weird stuff going on in terms of the protests. This is something I didn't think I'd see anytime soon. This is a bunch of Orthodox Jews burning stuff in a street in New York.
What are they burning?
Apparently, a bunch of masks.
Oh, that's right. They don't want a mask.
There you go.
No, that's right. They are protesting the mask. That's right.
But, I mean, it's like, what kind of dystopian 2020 shit is this?
Well, why do you call it dystopian?
Because it's the Jews out there burning shit.
Oh, that. Okay, I suppose from that standpoint.
I mean, it's just like, what? Wait, what? That's just. I mean, you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna call that white supremacy at some point.
I think that no more than likely, but I do. You know what? The question is, of course, if they're not wearing their mask, who's going to run in there and arrest them? Throw them on their.
You arrest them, and then you arrest them again for endangering the officers who arrested them.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Assault on an officer. Apparently, France just outlawed homeschooling.
I wouldn't doubt. I believe that it's always been outlawed in Germany.
Really?
Yeah, you can't homeschool in Germany. Now, the nice thing about Germany is all the schools are free, up through including college.
That doesn't provide me with any reassurance.
They literally, if you try and homeschool in Germany, they feel come by and don't see your papers, please. Not even please. You take your children.
And it doesn't matter what your papers say
anyway. It doesn't matter. You know homeschooling in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, France, interestingly enough, it wouldn't surprise me.
Right. Just a headline in passing. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought it was interesting.
One of the things that you do when you say, of course, no homeschooling, it's interesting that kids always are schooled to some extent at home.
Well, that's the whole point. And especially during this whole COVID thing,
yeah,
it's been, I have to believe, a total revolution. I mean, I saw one group of parents were protesting. They were enrolling their kids in some school for $50,000 a semester.
Woo!
$51,000, and the school said, "Well, we're going to do this online from here." And the parents were like, "Wait, what? What?
Wait, what? Wait." You do understand that the whole idea
is we're giving you the kid.
Well, no, not only that.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that you have to realize in those schools, those are the elite schools where you make friends with people who are going to be in high places later on. I mean, that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Forget the schooling.
Right.
It's you go to Eton or someplace like that. The whole reason you go there is to meet up with people who are going to be in high places, or you're going to be, and you're going to have your why on the if you're going to do it on. No way, Jose.
Yeah. Well, I got to think we're in revolutionary times when it comes to education, and we'll see what.
Speaking of revolutionary times, of course, in revolutionary times, almost all schooling was homeschooling.
Dun dun dun. Yeah. So, did you see that Russia tested its hypersonic missile?
Did. Supposed to be 8 times the speed of sound or something?
That's right.
8x or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was. I thought it was interesting because it was on Vlad's birthday.
Yeah.
So here's your present. Foo!
That's it.
You talk about setting off rockets.
That's it.
I mean, what's better than the hypersonic rocket?
Man,
this is not a sparkler. This is not a bottle rocket. This is a
game changer. I mean, how would you like to be on an aircraft carrier knowing that your opponents have hypersonic missile capacity? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, maybe they're going to come up with a good defense for that. I mean, obviously they will before too long, but it certainly advances things.
Well, you got to ask yourself, how long does it take from detection to at 3,000 miles an hour or whatever it is, or 3,500 miles an hour?
Right.
What is that per second? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. 10 miles or something per second, or maybe
I
don't know.
No,
maybe.
not that.
No, it's not that fast. But anyway, the point is the radars these days. When you talk about the guns that they use on this stuff, it's pretty amazing how fast they can react.
Yeah, those miniguns
Yeah,
with the automatic thing.
and they're like Gatling guns. I mean,
Right.
they put a virtual shield.
I know.
I mean, this is a.
But that's what you're relying on. My guess is they'd have a couple of seconds of shooting before.
Yeah.
But a couple of seconds at 1,000 rounds a second or whatever it is, you're getting an awful lot. But I don't know.
You think about, F equals ma or whatever, mass times acceleration or whatever of course, acceleration at that point is zero, but no, because it's velocity. But I don't know what the exact formula is, but when you have these depleted uranium bullets, 50 cal or 100 cal or whatever they are, and they happen to hit this thing, travel at 3,000 miles an hour, the explosive force must be phenomenal. I mean, that is, you got to believe that it would go up in smoke.
It disintegrates stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it
amazing.
really does. I mean, the amount of the kinetic energy that goes in something like that, it would be phenomenal. Because we've seen this before when they talk about when a meteor, for instance, comes into the atmosphere, and they're coming at 13,000 miles an hour or whatever through. I mean, it's phenomenal the amount of energy that's.
Yeah, I mean those meteor. When you see a giant flare-up meteor, it's like the size of a pea.
Yeah.
The thing that you're actually seeing.
Right.
So, well, and then finally, I guess, RIP Eddie Van Halen, of course.
Now, how old was he?
65.
Ooh.
And
Ooh. COVID.
yeah, exactly. And then also Johnny Nash. I'm gonna give a shout out to, who was the singer of I Can See Clearly Now.
Okay.
The rain is gone. I forgot to check the dang feed. Reverend Alex Snow.
All right. Yes, Reverend.
Hey, it's my Snake Man. Yeah, he probably will. He says, does an orderly VP debate make the first presidential debate look even worse? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So these tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks, Kevin. One of these days, maybe we'll have Reverend Alex Snow tracks to play.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You never know. I'm Counselor Curtis. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. Check us out. Share it with your friends. Like, follow, ring, all those things. Thank you. I hope you had some fun.
We did.
Yep. And we'll see ya on the 10th of September. No, just kidding.
Yeah, September. I'm sorry. I remember this is October.
That's it. All right. See you soon.